Now, okay, during an Arizona campaign rally for Senator Bernie Sanders on Thursday, a man was escorted out for unfurling a Nazi flag. Now, again, this was during a rally, and people were cheering, of course, for Senator Bernie Sanders. And those cheers quickly turned to boos, according to Raw Story, as the senator's supporters noticed a man with a Nazi flag, which was quickly pulled down by somebody in the audience. That man was soon restrained by security and escorted out of the venue. And so, very, very quick action, not only in the part of the crowd, right, which immediately, and it's awesome, snatched the flag, and then didn't do any violence, just took the flag away, and then took pictures of him basically stomping on it, which is also great, and then allowed him to get escorted out. Now, look, as far as the imagery, can you imagine, right? Bernie Sanders is somebody who lost family in the Holocaust. This whole thing is disgusting and disturbing, right? In fact, Senator spokesperson Mike Koska said following the event that Sanders was aware and disturbed by what had happened because he didn't notice, right? Whoever it was, though, Sanders said, I think they're a little outnumbered tonight. Absolutely. Now, look, I spent a lot of time battling corporate Democrats and their ridiculous smears, even as going so far as to call, like Chuck Todd, Bernie Sanders supporters digital brown shirts. And so that's really disgusting, right? But at the end of the day, the Trump people, whoever wins, that's who we're going to face, right? We're going to face off against that. So the kinds of people who wave Nazi flags at potentially the first Jewish president. So that's what we're up against, right? I mean, if anything, as many differences as we had, we should be, we should all be united in the hatred of Nazis. I think that's an American value. It's a classic American value, right? Now, Brianna Westbrook, she's a friend of the show. She's also a surrogate for Bernie Sanders, and his campaign told the Washington Post about this. And she said, quote, "It was absolutely wild. I never thought I would have seen a swastika at a political event. It's gross. It really wakes you up, and you see how bad things really are and the climate that we're in." Oh, look, again, she's right, especially at a Jewish presidential candidate. How bold and brazen have they gotten? These far right people, right? And look, I'm not saying all Trump supporters believe the same thing, right? But you are far more likely to run into this kind of thing, to this anti-Semitism and this racism and hatred, more at our Trump rally than anywhere else. And it's not a surprise because, again, Donald Trump is a man who has encouraged this kind of behavior. All right. I mean, after all, Trump originally was like, oh, there's good people on both sides of the Charlottesville rally, right? Now, remember, one side was anti-fascists, right? Which we should all be anti-fascists. And then on the other side, you had people chanting blood and soil. The Jews will not replace us. Oh, no, there's good people on both sides. Really. Look, no, there's not. Look, okay, if you associate with Nazis and you're not trying to change their minds. Now, look, there are brave individuals out there that are going out and they're talking to these people and they're saying, look, here's why you're wrong, right? Here's why this is hatred. This is why it's bigotry. This is why it's wrong. This is why you shouldn't be a part of this group. Again, it takes immense courage to do this. I saw an African American speaker who would go up to people who are, consider themselves members of the KKK, right? And white supremacists and neo-Nazis. And he would have conversations and he would steer them away from that life, from those beliefs. Those people have immense courage and get my utmost respect, right? And so if you're doing that and that's your life's work, then okay. But if you're not doing that and you're just, oh, okay, they're whatever, right? Good people on both sides. Well, then, no, you're enabling that behavior. Okay. Now, if you're not calling it out, you're allowing that message of hatred and bigotry to spread. So now there's more reaction here. This is a young youth-led Jewish group who's very progressive. They said the group is called If Not Now. They tweeted, "It's absolutely sickening and scary to see somebody proudly brandishing a Nazi flag at a Bernie rally tonight. This is the hatred unleashed by Trump and the GOP. All people of conscience must condemn this anti-Semitism against the most visible Jewish politician in the country." And so, look, I've gotten to the point where I'm so cynical, right, that I'm already expecting some on social media who are, very bad faith actors, anti-Bernie people, to use this and say, "Oh, look at that! See, Bernie's got Nazis in his audience. See, I told you about those Bernie bros. They're so terrible." Again, I am capable of envisioning the worst in people because, well, I'm used to seeing the worst in people. Let's keep it real, right? But I don't know if anybody's done that yet, but I wouldn't be surprised. But now the Post reports also that the swastika flag was just one incident involving protesters that disrupted the event on Thursday. Later in the night, they said other people waving banners bearing President Trump's name also got into minor scuffles with Sanders supporters and were promptly removed from the venue by uniformed officers. By late Thursday, another video surfaced showing a man outside the venue shouting the N-word at a black Sanders supporter. So look, this is good journalism by the Washington Post, right? By saying, "Hey, look, these are Trump supporters. These are people wearing Trump, showing Trump flags, and these are the people going in and causing problems." Okay, so good on them for reporting factually, right? Because you got to give, at this crazy time, you actually have to give credit for the Washington Post for not using this as an opportunity to smear Bernie Sanders. I'm just saying, seeing the worst in people. That's my cynicism now, right? And I'm sure a lot of you share it. But now, it turns out that that same person that was harassing people outside of the Sanders venue was the same person that was waving the Nazi flag. And this was caught by, what was it? ABC 15's Nicole Grigg, right? So she's a reporter. And first she went on Twitter sharing a video. She said, "Man kicked out of Bernie Sanders rally. The guy in the white shirt got into it with a Bernie supporter, calls him N-word. Unclear what led to this." I thought that was funny. Unclear. I'm so unclear what led to this. It's a racist. It's racism. That's what led to it. But look, anyway, she noted, and I'm not going after her. I'm sure she does a great job. But wanted to be super objective, right? And I get that. But she noted later on, thanks to social media users who she said, connected the dots, right? It was the same guy who flew the flag. Fascinating. Now, what I love is that there were people in the crowd, right, that immediately saw this and were like, not on our watch, buddy. Ripped the flag out of their hand. And then, by the way, they didn't hurt him. They didn't beat him up, right? This isn't a Trump rally. We don't use physical violence. But they got that flag out of his hands, stomped on it, and then handed him off to basically authorities, right? Where he then later on went outside of the venue to harass other people until he was escorted off the property, right? So decisive action without violence. That's who we are. That's what we want to see, right? And look, the bigger point though, I love how people who are Biden supporters, things like that, like Bernie's, Bernie's got an army, but it's so toxic, right? Well, this is an example of it not only not being toxic, right, but also being more gentle than it probably could have been, right? And more than willing and happy to take on someone like Donald Trump and his army. And so, hey, look, if you want to win, You're going to need an army to take on Donald Trump. And it just so happens with Bernie Sanders, you've got one. Hey guys, hopefully you enjoyed that free video. Now I'm going to have to ask you a favor. Between the demonetization and the YouTube algorithm messing around with view counts, etc., we're having a hard time adjusting to the new YouTube reality, which is where you guys come in. See, we have a Patreon, patreon.com/TYTNation, set up to help us rely on you guys, the viewers, instead of big corporate ads. Look, you know the show. You know how I'm not in favor of big corporations anyway. So help us transition away from relying on the ad model to pay the bills and sign up to be a patron, patreon.com/TYTNation. That goes a long way to help us keep the lights on. And you guys will know that you're supporting independent progressive media.